Hi guys, this is week 2 post-op of my shoulder surgery. I finally can have the sling off for a good chunk, which is really nice. Actually, I'm literally at the point that the sling hurts more than my shoulder does. It starts to make my whole left side of my body crunch over, and then my neck starts to hurt, and the right underneath my scapula starts to really hurt. The scapula starts to really get irritated, that muscle underneath there. And then also just my whole left side of my rib cage, it starts to really hurt. So I am allowed to have it off now a decent amount of time, which is really nice. I actually had a really frustrating day going into week 2 of surgery. I got cleared for physical therapy. And at this point, I don't exactly know what happened. All I know is I showed up to physical therapy and I had a confirmation call that was like, hey, your physical therapy's on Monday and come on in. And I get there and they were like, oh yeah, we can't see you. We were told that your insurance called you and told you that you were denied, which is ridiculous on so many levels. You can't deny someone that just had surgery their physical therapy. So I was fuming, really angry, and I was like, well, if we call them, we get this all sorted out, can we still, make this happen? Because I have to start moving my arm around, or I will get what's called frozen shoulder. And so then you have to fix that problem on top of re-strengthening, mobilizing, and lifting everything. And they were like, no, because at this point, there would just be no way for it to be processed in time. So I had to have my cousin take off of work and drive me all the way out to this physical therapy place because I can't drive. And then when I called insurance, they said that it was the clinic that screwed up. At this point, I really don't know who messed up or why or how or whatever. But this whole last week was a battle of, okay, well, I don't care who screwed up at this point, just fix it. And I don't recommend this, but the doctor's like, you've got to start moving the shoulder with physical therapy. I know my body well enough at this point. I know exactly how it feels. I breathe, and I'm very in tune with how things are feeling. That, the second something doesn't feel right, I stop or I assess and I figure out how to re-strengthen. And I think a lot of that came from my Pilates training, but I started to move it. And I was like, you know what, as long as it doesn't hurt, then I'm not doing damage. Because my body would tell me to stop. So I think a huge lesson we all can just learn in general, though I don't recommend you doing things against your doctor's orders, is if you are really in tune with your body, be in tune with your body. Listen to it. It knows. So, and I was listening to a podcast and it was like, maybe the reason we have an illness or the reason we have an injury is so that the universe can just tell us to slow down and start listening to our body. I mean, that's really why things happen. Because you think you get this illness and you have to take a few days off of school or work, or you get this injury and you have to slow down and take care of it. And if you don't, there's huge repercussions for that. So I think I've really just learned that in this process, learned that over all of my other injuries when I got my Pilates certification. And I can't recommend Pilates enough because it really was meant for injury rehabilitation. That was the original purpose and intent for it. That's Joseph Pilates developed it in the war for soldiers who were injured to help them recover. And that's really the true purpose of Pilates. Beyond the Pilates body, beyond the muscles coming closer to the bone because you're working that internal core strength and those stabilizers. But really, truly, the purpose is to either prevent injuries or help you come back from them. And that Pilates did that for me. I truly cannot speak highly enough for Pilates. And that is why I teach it. So I had that whole thing. But I went to Florida. I got to go to Disney for 3 days. I have an awesome friend who works down there. We work together, she dances, and she was like, hey, come on down. And I was like, well, I can't drive. So as long as, you are able to drive me and get me, then absolutely, let's do this. And I'm going to share some pictures and videos, but we just had the best time. I got so emotional watching her live her lifelong dream of being in Disney and getting to perform for Disney and making all the kids smile and so happy. And they just do so many dance parties. I mean, you watch these kids and they're just dancing and having the best time. And we lose sight of that as we get older. Think back to all the little kids and when you were a little kid and how much you danced. And just because that is something our bodies are meant to do, it brings us so much joy. And I was just so happy watching all those kids light up, and I got pictures of so many of the characters. My favorite ones and some new ones that I hadn't met before. And we got our nails done, mermaid nail here for Costa Rica. I got a pedicure, and just having some vitamin D and sunshine was so healing. And being able to walk everywhere. Like, I got in 10,000 steps to 15,000 steps to the last day I literally walked 3 parks and had like 27,000 steps. And I also got to see one of my friends from tour. He's in Fiddler on the Roof on tour right now, so we got to see him perform, the whole cast. I can't recommend it enough. It is the most beautiful production of Fiddler I've seen, and it was so good to catch up with him. But the funny thing this whole trip was how many people, of course, asked me, like, what happened? What's your cast? What, why are you in a cast? And Southwest was awesome and gave me pre-board, so I got to sit exactly where I needed to, so that I didn't have to bump anyone or no one bumped me, or, I always sat on like the aisle seat with my left arm propped up so that I didn't have to take anyone's armrest away from them, because there was no way that I could go otherwise. Of course, everyone's like, what happened? There were so many people that were like, oh my gosh, I feel your pain. I had the same exact surgery. Like, you got this. It sucks, but man, you'll get through it. But overall, like, when people would actually ask the story of what happened, I just kept finding myself over and over saying, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful that this was the worst thing that happened. I'm grateful that I finally got through this. I'm grateful for everything that it's taught me. And that's not something I would have said forever ago. Like, forever ago, I would have been like, oh, this accident screwed up this and it screwed up that and blah, 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 blah. And everyone was just like, you are so positive and that's incredible. And, I said, well, it's been a journey. And the thing that I've realized in this, and if I had to pick the thing that I have learned the absolute most, and I wish I could go back and do just overall this part of my life over, but I wouldn't now, because at least I've learned it now, it's just, God, be grateful for what you had. I was so lucky to book so many things right out of school that I really took for granted what I had. I mean, beyond the arm, like beyond being grateful for my arm and my good health and my body, I complained so much. I found a reason to complain about everything. I always wanted that next thing. I always wanted that next level. I was such a perfectionist, and I think that part of my personality really held me back, because I just annihilated myself. I never thought I was good enough for anything, but on the flip side, I always wanted the next thing. Like, I always wanted to be better, and I couldn't just enjoy the amazing opportunities that I had, because I was just too stuck on wanting the next thing, or wishing I had something else, or wishing I could be somewhere else, and I wish I could go back and do that all over, because you really don't realize how lucky and blessed you are until you learn how to be grateful, or you lose things. Oh my God, losing my arm has made me so grateful for all the things I could do before I lost being able to use my arm for a while, and all the things that's happened to it. So really, just having a gratitude practice I think it's just a non-negotiable in life. It really forces you to train your mind to be grateful for things, and be grateful for what you have, and be grateful for the people in your life, the lessons you've learned, the things going on, the simple joys of coffee. Yes, I brewed this coffee. It's from Balzac's in Toronto, the brew, and I have my Loyal and Royal Princess cup this morning. But yeah, I really learned how to be grateful. And then it was really funny, the last day at Epcot, we got in line to get coffee, and the guy right behind me was wearing a right sling, and of course I had the left sling. And he goes, between the two of us, we have one full working set of limbs. And I was like, you're right. So, of course, we got into talking about what happened, and his injury has just happened. And he was talking about all the ways it's affecting him, and he can't get the MRI he needs, and they told him they can't approve surgery for a while. And I was like, dude, from my experience, just get in there and tell them to do the things that you need to get what you need. Because if you're in that much pain, it's probably not going to resolve it on its own, especially a shoulder joint. If you've done anything with your ligaments and your tendons, those things can't go back to normal. If it's muscular, that's another story. Yes, Pilates, physical therapy, I highly recommend those before surgery. It's patience and grueling and takes time to work. But if you are popping pain pills every day for a shoulder and it's not a muscular thing, then you're probably going to need surgery. So just fight for what you need. But I was able to give him the name of my surgeon and talk to him about my surgery and my recovery, and he was just so grateful. And so that's just a lesson from the universe, just to be like open and honest about your experiences and what you're going through, because you just never know how you're going to help someone else. And I was lucky to watch one of my mentors go through the exact same surgery, as well as coworkers that I now can help others as well and hopefully inspire some people. So I'm going to share some pictures, but week 2 post-op, I'm doing great. I got some much needed sunshine, and I'm just feeling grateful for what's to come. All right, see you in a week.